And I'm going to pass it to you. And I'm so excited that you are here.
Great, great. I'd love actually if we could start with an exercise. If you're willing, stand up like you're willing and that feels good to you in your body. Stand up with me. So I invite you to think about something that you don't like to do. That imagine you had to do it all the time, over and over, and share in your body what it would be like to do that all the time. Oh, feel free to exaggerate what that would be like. Oh, how you'd feel. So while you're like this in this posture, lift your eyes and look at the screen and look at everyone else like this. And imagine you had to live your life like this. All you could do is interact with other people like this. Your work, your romantic relationships, all like this. Oh, yuck, right? Shake that off. Oh. Now imagine something that you love to do, and imagine you got to do more and more of that. You could change it up however you wanted. Show that in your body. Maybe you even got paid really well to do this thing, right? What would that be like? Oh, so now while you're doing this, look around at the screen again and see everyone like this. And you get to live like this and play with people like this and work like this and be in relationship with people like this. You felt this way and they felt this way. Wouldn't that be great? This is my aim with my intuitive eye readings, is to help you find this place in your life and give yourself more permission to live like this and to see it in other people if you wish, and to help other people live like this too. Go ahead and have a seat again. All right, thanks for doing that with me. So I'm going to share my screen. All right. So
now, Laureli, we can see your notes over on the side, which is fine for us, but I just want to make sure you're okay with that.
It's okay. I like this view better, actually. So I'm just thanks for letting me know.
Perfect.
Great. All right. Well, so why don't we live like this? Feel free to unmute and just jump out and share if you want. Why don't we live like this? Why don't we work like this? Why don't we relate like this? You can write in the chat or jump out and speak if you want. If anyone wants to share.
So I do live in spirit, and my desire is to have everyone be willing to take that leap and live in this way. It's awesome.
Well, you'll see each other right now. That's great. That's great. Well, why do lots of people not live this way? Maybe is a better question, because right, this is awkwardly Zen, and so maybe more of us do this all the time.
I think it's just weird to be vulnerable with people and like connect, like saying that this is something that you do, like, you know, to live authentically is to live vulnerably, and to live vulnerably is very scary.
Yeah, so fear, and sometimes it's like a real fear, like it isn't safe, and sometimes we imagine that it's scary, right? We don't realize like it might have been not safe in the past and maybe it is safe now, or we don't create enough of the safety around ourselves, right? Be enough community with people where it is safe. Fear of rejection, fear of judgment, yeah, all these things. I think part of what's really messy about our society is that we're generally taught that what has value is hard work. And for me, when we do what we love, I mean, that's easy, right? We not only have lots of energy for it, I think that we actually even get more energy from doing what we love. And so our society teaches us to do what's hard, what's not natural, what's like, ugh. And really, I think that when we do what we love, it's better for us. And I think it's better for everyone. It's doing what we love in connection. So aware of the impact that we make on others, on the environment, but where we're really connecting and focusing on what we love. I think it's so great. You did not miss too much, and you can catch up.
I should probably let you go so I can get on this meeting.
Yeah, great. All right. So thanks everyone for those of you that jumped in and shared. All right, I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. So I'm going to go through a number of slides and some optional exercises like that one we just did. Ari and team will help if there are questions. You can raise your hand or put it in the chat, and Ari's going to help me know when to answer. And I might just call on some of you too if you have your hands up. We're going to do samples at the end. So just a tiny bit about me. My name's Laureli Shimayo. My pronouns are she, her, and they, them. I live in what's called North Bend outside Seattle, Washington, and this is the ancestral lands of the Snoqualmie, Tulalip, and Coast Salish peoples. I'm an intuitive eye reader. I'm also a body psychology coach. And I think of myself as a people scientist. I used to be a scientist. I worked in agriculture and medicine, and I worked in entrepreneurial organizations and startups and leadership coaching. And my passion is being with people and supporting people to be who they are and make choices that are great for them and really great for everyone. I also run the MIWI events for energizing body, mind, heart, and soul. And I see that someone has a question already. Did you want to jump in and ask briefly? I don't know how Ms. L, did you want to jump in and ask a quick question?
Your hand's up. Michelle, do you have a question?
No, I just wanted to let you know I wanted to volunteer.
Okay,
great.
I
If you want to
got you there.
volunteer, it's great. If you want to volunteer, write in the chat if everyone's able to. So write in the chat and let Erin know. That's great. And yeah, so if you want to share about yourself in the chat too, I don't want to confuse Ari and her process, but feel free to share your name, your pronouns, if you're willing to share your pronouns, where you are in the globe and what you'd love to experience here today. And I like glance, I saw some of the comments earlier, so I get to know who you are. So today we're here to talk about your soul purpose, right? You're probably familiar with the phrase, eyes are a window to the soul. So your soul purpose, right? Soul or spirit coming through you. So we'll talk about what it is a bit, where yours is, why you'd want to know, and how you can use this awareness. And if you're curious and we have time, maybe a little bit about how to see this in other people's eyes too. So your soul purpose to me, right? It's spiritual energy, right? It's the energy of who we are. It's our the expression of our soul in this physical plane in our bodies. It's why we're here, what we do best, how we can best do everything that we do, and why we love what we love. For me, it's really a way of tuning up. Like if we are noticing, paying attention, and following to this energy through us, we're expressing what our purpose is. We're expressing this why we're here. And I think that things go more easily for us in life if we follow this. I think we're most of service, and I think that like it's not only good for us, I really think it's good for everyone. And you don't really need to know anything special to recognize your soul purpose, right? Or I have a book where I talk about it as your sweet spot, right? Or your genius. Whenever you feel the most energy and joy, that's connected to your purpose. Whenever something is really easy for you, I think that is connected to your purpose. Time often shifts more quickly or more slowly when you're in your purpose. Often, although not always, people come to you for that thing. You have to show it, like let people know that it's there. And some people come to you for other stuff, not just for that, but often people come to you for the things that are naturally you. And I think it is how we provide the most value. And so if you notice and follow these things, you'll be expressing your soul purpose. It's just, as I mentioned earlier, society often doesn't teach us to do this. Right? We could make up like society wants to sell us all kinds of other things instead. We get us exhausted and tired and need these other things. So we listen to ourselves. And the trick that I do is that I think it shows through our eyes. And I think we all see it in each other's eyes. I think you all can see me on the screen too, right? Just double check. Yeah, so if you, I'm just gonna cover my eyes a bit. So when you meet someone wearing dark sunglasses and you can't see their eyes, there's so much missing. It can be very frustrating. As soon as you see their eyes, there's so much there, so much more there. Right? And I think that we all pick this stuff up in each other. And I'm going to show you a whole bunch of tricks of, well, it's some of how I see it, but really it's what is it that we all see? I think we just don't realize what it is. We all pick it up and we all make choices with each other based on what we see in each other's eyes. And if you think back about your life and you've had like relationships with the same kinds of challenges over and over again, or bosses where you had the same kinds of challenges over and over again, I mean, we're the ones that are making those choices. You can say spirit is leading us to make those choices, but I think that in our physical bodies, we have capacity to shift this and change this. That's part of my body psychology work. So what I read in people's eyes, I use a set of archetypes called ThriveTypes, archetypes for thriving, to interpret what I see in people's eyes. And by the way, when I get excited, I can go too fast. So if y'all want me to go faster or slower at any point, just let me know. And there's a lot of data here. Don't worry about, you don't have to know all the data. I have a website, ThriveTypes.com, that has all this basic stuff in there. And there's a recording, so Ari may have a recording to watch another time too. I don't know what heterochromia is, but I can say when I read people's eyes, I'm reading the energy in people's eyes, not the physical properties of the iris, even though I'm paying attention to the energy coming through the iris. So like if I get too close to the eyes, I can't see. So I think with all kinds of different things, I can still read people. I've read people who are blind too. Their energy doesn't come through their eyes maybe as powerfully. So that's a little trickier. Yeah, 2 different colors, no big deal. Yeah, it might confuse me a little bit in a moment, but yeah. All right. So ThriveTypes. So these are all the archetypes that I'm looking at in people. At least these are the big important things. So I'm going to go into more detail on this one. These are a set of talents. There are 7. I describe each person as having 3. So yeah, we'll talk about those in much more detail. And these are the most directly connected to soul purpose. So those are the ones we're focusing on today. It's what we naturally value and contribute. It describes how we can best do all that we do. I say it's our greatest gift, right? Greatest capacity, the greatest opportunity for fulfillment is by allowing these to express through us. This is our pacing or rhythm, the speed at which we integrate and share and move in the world. This is how we make decisions. This is how we most easily communicate. What motivates us? And I think of these as our soul, because we have those from before we're born. And then defense is how we protect ourselves. It forms during the first 2 years of life. And then worldview is a set of meta lessons. It's consciousness, our perspective on things. We start here in survival as babies and grow. And maybe actually, I'm going to go through these first so you get a context of this. And maybe I'll say too, at the bottom of all these boxes, notice there's fluid. So there's not only like, what is our soul? There also, what are our lessons towards expressing our soul? So just for example, with communication, this looks at the order of mind, heart, and body and how we integrate and share. So mind is our thinking. It's very specific and focused. Heart is our feelings. It's not only feelings, but it's with feelings, we pick up a general sense of things, kind of the context or how we grok things, and our body, like physically engaging the world or acting in the world. So there are all these different, so mind is thinking, heart is feeling, and body is acting. And these are just the different orders of them, the ways in which we integrate and share. And we can all grow to become fluid, where we do all 3 at the same time in the same amounts. And that's how, so fluid means that we have access to all of them, but we start on a pathway of our uniqueness, you could say. So I'm going to start with here, but yeah. So worldview being a bigger lesson. We all start in survival as babies, getting our basic needs met. And then security is figuring out following the rules, like my family doesn't do it this way. Success is caring about what our peer group values, wanting to climb in status in their eyes, whatever our peer group is. People in the US generally are in success. It's probably when you were in junior high, high school, and you really wanted to be popular, you wanted people to like you. That's when we're typically in that phase of success, and most people don't grow out of it. Anyone that's in this community, chances are, connection really matters to you. So it's not just about what people think of you, it's the actual relationship and the connection with others, right? So we often have intense learnings of relationships during this stage. And then the next is fulfillment. So instead of focusing on the connection with others, we now focus on the connection with ourselves. Like connection with ourselves. Right? Who am I? What's my purpose? What am I here to share? Who am I here to share it with? And we go through rounds of sorting that in fulfillment. And then presence, we move towards fluid in all these traits. You haven't seen them yet, but they're a whole set of lessons of our talents, and we grow to the deepest lessons of our talents. And we also clean up all of our family of origin stuff here in presence. So we're so fully present in the moment because none of these things are in the way now. And then service, I think of like the Dalai Lama, of service to all the time. So this is a big meta lesson, and we have to be growing in these big meta lessons in order to be growing in all these other lessons too. So most of us that we run into in the world are in success, connection, and fulfillment. This is what's most common, right? Caring about what others think and performing in a way that they'll approve of, having deep connection and relationships with each other, and having a deep relationship with ourselves. And it's really important, maybe looking at people that are in different stages relative to each other, they often don't understand each other that well. Someone in connection that really wants a relationship and the connection to be going well, when they attempt to connect with someone is in fulfillment, it may seem like the person in fulfillment is very focused on themselves and not available. And so the person in connection can feel a bit hurt about that. And the person in fulfillment, when they focus on the person in connection, you know, if they look and see what's going on, it feels like the person's pulling them away from where they are and what their focus is. So connecting with others that are in similar stages is really important. So I use that for matchmaking, for hiring, all kinds of different things. Okay. I haven't been tracking all the stuff in the chat. There is a ton going on in here. So if there's some questions, okay, it looks like I haven't missed anything important. Yeah, great. All right, so this is an overview of all the things I look at. So I'm looking at your soul and also the growth path that you're on in terms of expressing your soul. So let's do, so that's the deeper dive. This is the bigger sheet. Let's do a deeper dive into these 7 talents.
Lorelei, not to, sorry to interrupt, but Ivan came in right with an answer right, or a question right after that. He was
Okay,
asking
yeah.
if there is a danger on these connections of getting hurt.
Danger of getting hurt. Oh gosh. I'm not sure exactly what you mean. I'm going to answer this in a more general way. And thanks for interrupting me. So we're on a journey to express the best of who we are. And there are all sorts of lessons that the world creates for us, you know, that we create for ourselves along the way. I personally think it's easiest to be with people that are similar to us. We generally understand each other. We do things in the same way, right? We make decisions in the same way. We communicate the same way, etc. So I think that's easiest. And we often choose friends that are similar. There's some ways, though, it can be challenging being with people that are similar along the growth path, because we might get competitive with them and we might think, oh, they're better at than I am. So sometimes that comes up. And when we're with people that are different than us, there are challenges that happen. And that, to me, that's more of like a danger in that I guess risks of lessons. But so like if we value a whole set of things and do things a particular way, as humans, we often ignorantly, I mean, it's kind of natural, just ignorant, like we're all humans, we imagine that we're the same. You know, chances are most of us have a nose, you know, most of us have hands. Like we just imagine we're the same. And so with all these kinds of traits, we don't realize that our souls could be different. So we often end up assuming other people should be like us. And then when they're not, we get upset with them, or we think we did something wrong. We get upset with ourselves. And so to me, that's a danger. It happens all the time. And this helps us understand it and gives us insight and gives us a way of honoring others, not only honoring ourselves and expressing the best of ourselves, also honoring the diversity of how we all show up in terms of our souls. So we take it less personally and we're more able to play together. And it also gives us insight as to who to go play with when we want to do something in particular. So it describes the hurt that we already do with each other. We could misuse it to hurt each other. I'm not, you know, supporting that. We could, but I believe too that like it ultimately won't work and people will realize. And so hopefully I've answered your question. If I haven't, say a little bit more about what you mean about danger. All right. So we're going to focus on these talents first. They're one of the most important things for understanding our soul and our journey. They help people feel seen really easily, really quickly and deeply. And they're kind of fun. So they're organized in a circle because they're all equal. They're different and equal. And there are also some patterns here. I'll talk about the patterns of the two in pairs. And then also the three on this side are more extroverted. By that, I mean that they can easily connect with a whole group at one time. Whereas the people on this side that are more introverted, the people that have these talents, they either like one-on-one or small group interactions, or they're really not about people. The people that are more extroverted, again, it doesn't mean that they love being with other people or that they feel energized by other people. They just have that capacity to connect with others. And the one that's in the middle is in the middle. All right. So let's do a deeper dive into these 7. I'm going to go through and describe all 7 so you get a sense of what they are. As I go through, you might want to notice for yourself which of any of them feel really easy and natural, kind of like that first exercise we did. So which feel easy and natural. If there are any that feel like you should be, and then if there are any that just don't feel like you at all. And this might help give you some insight into the 3 that you might have. So server, love, and priest, priestess vision, they're both about people. Server wants to see, honor, and love people just as they are, wants them to feel welcome, included, accepted. However someone is totally okay. They're bothered by someone being insensitive to others. They jump in to stop that from happening. And they're really not just about people. They're about loving and honoring all life. So plants, animals, nature, all life, right? So servers are so good at feelings in the moment, like right here. And priest, priestess, and I'm thinking I should move this around so that in the recording, you can see me a little bit too. No, I'm not sure how to, all right.
I think on the recording on my end, I have you highlighted, so I'm pretty
sure.
sure.
You do? Okay, great.
Yep.
That's right. The recording's on your end. Perfect. Okay, cool. Thanks so much for getting me corrected on that. Okay. So server's so good at honoring and seeing what's here right now. Priest, priestess sees what's possible. They want to inspire and motivate people to stretch and reach for what's possible. So priest, priestess is aware of the gap between where things are and where they could be. Right? They're passionate. They have strong opinions about things sometimes. They notice if someone's avoiding the emotional truth, anything that's keeping them from stretching to reach that purpose, and they want them to face it, right? So servers are about love and honor and care and whatever is here in the moment, and priest is about stretching to what's possible. Sage, communication, and artisan creativity are about the space between. Sage is the space between people. They want this flowing, fun, dancing interaction, connecting people to each other in community. They use humor and storytelling to get people to connect and engage. They notice if the group is stuck in some way and they do something to get it flowing again. Artisan is the space between what exists. So instead of seeing what's here now or problems, they see up through that and say, cool, new, pleasurable solution. And they draw in all these amazing ideas and experiences so everyone has access to them. They're about pleasure, freedom, creativity, and energy. They notice if things are ordinary or boring and do something to make it more interesting. Queen King, power, and warrior efficiency. They're both about action. Queen King is rare. They see a great big opportunity to take action and they direct others to take action. Like they sit from way high up, they look down, they particularly look down, that's part of their characteristic. They look down and see how everything works and why people do what they do. And they say, this paradigm's at play. Well, this paradigm is better. You know, in the beginning, it like builds their power, but ideally it's better to build everyone's power, right? So they set us up in a whole new paradigm and they direct others to build that new paradigm. They notice incompetence. If you can't do or won't do what you say you can do, you're a useless resource to them. So they do a version of off with your head. Warriors are really grounded, practical doers themselves. They want it to be solid, useful, efficient, effective, just move forward, make results happen. They love to develop, follow, and enforce a process. And they're bothered by waste. They want all energy to go into producing useful results. And then scholars are the integrators or assimilators. They draw everything in, connecting everything together in a map to create deeper meaning. They follow their curiosity, ask questions, and they notice missing and wrong information. Just be noticing in you. Yeah, which ones feel really easy and natural, which if any felt like you should be, and which totally don't feel like you. And I'll say a little bit more about the patterns and I can answer a little bit more directly about some of the, the danger of getting hurt. So when I said you're more extroverted, priestess can sense a whole group and whether they're aligned and whether they're able to move forward right towards something. Sage is a classic extrovert that loves to play and dance with a whole group of people, and they do feel energized being around people. Queen King, they don't show their cards, so they don't actually engage a lot in a whole group of people. It's more that they sense the group to see what's going on and who's good at various things, and they are able to steer and direct who does everything. So Sage is a classic extrovert, but they all connect with groups of people. Priestess does not like groups when it's small talk, but if it's something real and deep and meaningful that they believe in, they are extroverted and they can command a whole group, like in that the way we talk about that word, they really inspire a whole group to take action together. So those are extroverted. And then server, love is the classic introvert. They want deep, heartful connections with people. And so it's often one at a time, or it can be a small group. Artisans are about pleasure and experience and ideas, not about people. Warrior is about action and getting things accomplished, results. They're not about people. People often get in their way. And then scholars are in between introverted and extroverted. They start off introverted, and as soon as they start to build a map of people, they get more extroverted. And people have three of these, so they're a combination. Occasionally you'll have someone that's all three introverted or all three extroverted, but not usually. And the three of these, and I want you to, it's best if you focus on which of the three you might have first. They do come in an order. So there's an order of priority. Are people, so people are generally three. I generally describe people as three. Part of what's tricky is that while we have three that are naturally ours, which are our soul, we also pick up what I call masks. Let me jump to here. Our job as kids is to get love and attention, and we're raised by people, chances are, that are not like us. And while they do their best, and those of us that are parents, right, we do our best with our kids. We don't have this model when we have kids. We don't know who we are and we don't realize who our kids are. It's a journey of discovering that, right? We're still on the journey of discovering ourselves as parents. Kids are discovering who they are. We're discovering who they are. So what happens typically when we're growing up, think of back to each of us as a child, our job is to get love and attention. So we did generally what our parents wanted us to do. We rebelled against that. That got us negative attention if we needed that. But so we generally want positive attention. So we'll do whatever it is we have to. It might be what our parents teach us, what the school system teaches us, what the culture teaches us. It could be that we just learn like, oh, when I'm fun and funny and that parent pays attention to me more. So we end up picking up things that are not natural. We pick up masks. Masks can be false masks that have us be different than we are. They can have us hold back what's natural or over exaggerate what's natural. So part of this trick in here, we have 3, but it may seem like we have more than that. And it may also, we might be confused about who we are. Okay. And then in terms of like whether there's danger in getting, I'll just give you some of the things that are challenging. So artisan and warrior, they have a completely different focus. Artisan's about exploring the edges of what exists and going all these new places and changing things just to change them. And warriors want to do it the same way all the time. So when you have someone with artisan and someone with warrior attempting to do something together, it can be really stressful and it can be painful in each of them because the artisan wants to change and the warrior doesn't want to. And sometimes you have a person that has both of these inside and they're wanting to go different places and focus, and that's hard. So there are all kinds of different ways that it can be complex interacting with each other. And also, yeah, we may have challenges in ourselves where we get pulled in different directions. All right. And
Lorelei, can I ask a quick question?
yeah.
Does this ever change?
It generally doesn't change. So there's a very, very rare thing called a walk-in. So if my understanding about a walk-in is that it's often accompanied by a near-death experience, although it doesn't have to be. So our soul has a purpose, right? We're here on this purpose. And even though there are challenges and lessons, we're stepping through discovering to express our purpose. And every once in a while, something happens where the soul can't express its purpose. And my understanding is that sometimes there's an agreement that's made. This is my understanding of it. An agreement is made where the soul leaves and another soul comes in and makes use of the body and the life. Yeah, and someone wonders if they're a walk-in. And the way that I can help see that if you're a walk-in is that if you show me photos of you before it happened and photos I see you now, after, I can often see the change that happens in your eyes. So for most people, we don't change, but we go through sets of lessons, and I'll show you more of those lessons. And so it looks like we change, but we don't. Even just if we have masks and we go to take off the mask, it's not that we actually change. And the way you can tell the difference between the mask and what's natural, I just say, if it's a mask, it's hard. In the beginning of the talk where we did that exercise where we focused on like what we don't like to do and imagine we had to do a lot of it, chances are that's a mask. You don't feel joy, you're not good at it, you're exhausted and tired, confused, stressed, right? Defensive. Chances are if that's going on, you're attempting to do something in your mask. So for us, it's growth is how we change. It's not really that we change. Maybe I'll say a little bit here. Well, so much to say. I'll say about the 3 first. So I mentioned we pick up masks as kids. Yeah, then you're not a walk-in, right? You can kind of get a sense, right, of what's going on. So we often pick up masks as kids, and this society, right, doesn't know how to recognize us all and honor us yet. So we pick up masks, and then we typically grow into our 3rd talent when we're little, when we're learning so much, and the 3rd one influences how we learn our whole life. The 2nd we grow into when we're teenagers and young adults, when we're choosing a career. So it's often what we do in the world. The 1st is our being. It's most authentic. We potentially make the most, feel the most fulfillment here and make the biggest contribution. And we start this proportion and ideally grow to be this proportion. So I think there's a question of like, how conclusive? Let me answer in a couple of ways. So one is, this is a model. I think that we knowing ourselves is the most important thing. Us listening to ourselves and following what feels like our best understanding of our truth, that is the most important thing. This is a model to hopefully help us do that more. Right? And it may give us ideas and suggestions of how to engage other people and who we might engage. And it's not an absolute. This is just one thing in so many ways of understanding and engaging ourselves and each other. And then when I read someone, if I'm with them in person, that's the best thing. If I by video is really, really good. I also do like to see photos of people too, because and neutral photos where they're most natural and at ease. I think I let myself kind of go more deeply into someone's energy when it's in a photo than when it's in person. Like I inhibit myself a little bit. So I may have lessons there. I think I easily get in the 80, 90 something % of what's true of people, but some people might be harder for me to read. I'm a human too, right? In my own lessons. And I'll do some samples later and you'll get a sense of like how close do I get for people? How much does it resonate for people when I say what I see in them? So yeah. And certainly there's some patterns that are a bit more common and it's easier for me to see. And there's some like I just don't see as much. Like I didn't mention this up here, but maybe I didn't mention it a lot, but Queen King, the one about power, the one that likes to direct other people to do things, there are not that many of them, right? They want to direct everyone else. They also kind of avoid each other. It's really interesting. Like they can sense their power, right? And they all have their own little power area. So I'm not as practiced reading them. I know what it looks like, but I'm like, yeah, so I got lessons too. Okay, where do I go? Let me jump up here. Actually, let's go here first. So another way of connecting these talents or thinking about these talents is that they're connected to the chakras. And I don't know if they literally are, but they certainly correlate really well. And I'm so glad you liked that answer. All right. So the first chakra, right? The root, grounding, is a lot like warrior. And somehow these got shifted around. So, and then the sacral, second chakra, the sacral chakra is about pleasure. Artisan is about pleasure, right? The solar plexus, right? Confidence, queen, king, and power. The heart, the fourth chakra, server, love. The throat, communication, right? Sage. The third eye, wisdom, scholar. And then spirituality, the crown, priest, priestess. So each of these talents value these things and are naturally good at these things, and have fun that these correlate. So in some ways you could say we're all embodying aspects of these. And when you see my chart on the lessons of the talents, as we grow in the lessons of our talents, we do embody aspects of all of them. And to me, like if you think of wholeness, like we're on our own pathway of expressing wholeness. So this is what these talents naturally value and contribute, right? What they're bothered by and do something about. And I've mentioned a couple times they have lessons. Here's a simple version of the lessons. So these are some of the early lessons that they grow through on the outside here. So where server's about love and honor, they can be too sensitive or too nice in a way that bothers other people, and they're not nice enough to themselves, right? They're more nice to others than themselves, or they actually can close down their heart and be really mean and hateful. So all these characteristics are all this talent. Or priest, priestess, well, they see what's possible and they want to help people reach it. They can be way too attached to that and think that is the way and really judgmental about it and intense about it, right? And not give it up. Or sage, like, let's play and have fun, but let's have too much fun, or I'm gonna make you have fun and convince you to do something you don't want to do, right? So they can be really slippery. Or artisan, all these pleasurable things, all these ideas, and they get so distracted by them that they don't actually bring any in for everyone else. And then queen king is about power. So they can use the power to build something really big and new that's good for all of us, or they can use it to control and demand others. Right? And warriors, make it grounded, make it happen, make the results, become, but they can be really pushy and they can focus on tasks over people, and they can plow down people along the way to getting something done. And scholars, they really want to understand, right? Build the map and understand and bring that knowledge to everyone, but they can get way too serious and caught in the details, caught in the trees, and not see the forest. Right? So usually these are the earlier lessons as we grow into the depth of our talent. And this is some of the deeper lessons in here. And there's deeper lessons still. So that gives you a little bit more of an idea too of all the ways they can show up. So for identifying them in other people, one way to maybe just noise or, all right. I was going to say that, so in noticing them in yourself and in other people, like let's say that you used to be really distracted and rebellious, or if you get stressed and you still go that way. And at the same time, you're really creative and you're so sensitive to pleasure and color and energy. And so if you have the earlier lessons and some of the deeper contributions, chances are that's really yours. Same thing when you look at other people, right? So you might be someone in your life that's really playful, that you enjoy so much, but sometimes they get way too playful, right? And over talk, like, okay, maybe they really do have sage, right? They're really, really great at it. When it's a mask, we usually get more caught in just these outer lessons. And something just doesn't quite feel right about it when we experience it from someone else. It's kind of irritating somehow. And that's what lets us know that it's more likely a mask from them and not authentic. When it's authentic, we feel that authenticity. We just sense that in each other. Yeah. All right, and so I mentioned that this often, so this is to me is connected to our soul purpose. And you can connect it to career paths that might be a great fit for you. So for example, servers are great at care of all kinds of beings. Priest, priestess is great at leading for something they believe in to make positive change. Or it can be change that actually is negative, but it seems like a better thing for them. Sage is great at getting a whole team together and playing, right? Artisan is great at coming up with new ideas, new products, new services. Queen King is great at seeing some, well, helping advise on a large scale. Warrior is great at operations and making things work, and Scholar is good at data and research. So I say, and this gives you some of the, so this is the what we're often good at when we have these talents. And I think because we have a natural sense of what that work is, and we feel energy from doing that kind of work. There are deeper lessons though that I'm showing here. And so I have Scholar, I have tons of data on my slides, right? You get the idea of tons of data. And I used to do research, I was a scientist. But there are deeper lessons of Scholar. And so being a scientist or doing my bookkeeping is not thrilling for me anymore. So there's a deeper lesson that we get to also. So if you kind of identify with these and not quite, there's more to know about this. And so in addition to suggesting what we might do, this is also a suggestion for how we might do everything. So just because you have a particular talent doesn't mean you're narrowed to only do certain things. So the example I use here is sales. Sages in general are the best at sales because they know how to say whatever's needed in the moment. They're so good at just coming up with whatever it is in a way that's engaging and get you to play. Everyone though can sell. It's just that what they sell and how they sell typically is different. So priest, priestess, they need to sell something that they believe in. And hopefully it's some product or service that's inspiring that helps uplift. Servers are going to be great at customer service. So people come back and buy from them because the customer service is so good. And server has to sell something that the other person needs. They would never want to impose something on someone else that they don't want and isn't good for them. Artisans, they need to do something new and different and interesting. So hopefully they sell product or service that's at the cutting edge. And they're going to have a different way of selling every time. That's what keeps them engaged. Warriors, hopefully they sell something that makes things more efficient, and they're going to have the same process over and over again, and that's how they're successful at selling. Scholars are great at selling things with lots of data and information, and they have all the data and information, so people that want that will buy from them. And then Queen King, they just have this sense of personal magnetism, so hopefully it makes a big change for something too, but of course you need this. So you can see ways that, right, totally, we can all do all these different things. It's like, how do we do it in a way that's best for us? And sometimes we really might be attempting to do something from our mask that really isn't a good fit for us. And hopefully this model helps us take ourselves out of those boxes we got stuck in as kids that we still keep ourselves stuck in. So I aim to have this not to be constraining for us. My aim is to have this be opening and freeing and give us more options and possibilities and let us be more of our truth and let us be able to support each other in sharing our truth. I'm going to jump into the lessons a little bit. So this is a deeper slide with a ton of different notes on it, just a ton of different words. You don't have to memorize this. This version of it, this lighter version of it is on my website. So there's stuff there on my website, and you can always do a screenshot of this one if you want. I give it out in sessions. So that the idea is that we grow from the outside in. So relaxing into who we are. So some people skip over lesson one. Lesson one is where we overshare our talent in a way that has the opposite impact. So even though we're trying to do something positive, something that we believe in, we actually sabotage ourselves. Lesson two, we share in a pushy way that's harder for people to receive. 3, we share in a really good way, we make a good impact. And 4, we share in the most spacious way, we feel the most fulfillment and make the biggest contribution. So I'll give you a little bit of a flavor of this with some of them. Maybe I'll just start here, Scholar. So Scholar starts off trying to read everything and understand everything, like trying to read the internet, which does not work, or they share way too much data. So I have to watch that I don't do this. And then they care about accuracy, but they're too serious. They get all caught in the trees. They stand back and observe. They don't want to contaminate the data. They want to get it exactly right. They don't share their feelings or their emotions. They don't share their opinions, right? Which is great though that they're neutral and that there are many perspectives and they have space to hold all of them. So they get to know it even better. But there's not enough of them that's really here, right? They're detached from everything. They eventually follow the areas they're curious in instead of trying to learn everything. And they're willing to jump in and experiment and learn while it's messy. And they learn in a more rich way here. They ask great questions. They really map things well. They're great at research and analysis. Excuse me. So like someone that's in this zone in here, you might really want them to do your bookkeeping. They might be really great doing science. But so someone that's been doing science as a scholar here, you know, in a very scientific, dry kind of way, As they start to grow here, they're like, I want to do more. I want to ask bigger questions. I want to not just do like my lab work. And so they need something bigger and more unknown and mysterious that they can puzzle together. And as they grow even more, they become spontaneous intuitive knowers, where they don't even know how they know or why they know. They just know that they know. So those of you that know the clairs, this would be more of a claircognizance kind of knowing. And as long as they're open to that and they let that flow, that's great. And if they scare themselves and go, how do I know? Is it right? Am I right? Boom, they're back down here in lesson 2. So whenever we feel scared or stressed, we come back down to the early parts of our lessons. So I'll do another version in here. I'll do the artisan too, so you can feel this, and I'll say a little bit about the others. Artisans start off totally distracted, all these ideas, all these possibilities, and nothing comes into reality because that's another one, squirrel, shiny. And all artisans can do this, but like they're stuck there, right? And they're distracted and rebellious too. So anyone tells them what to do, no. Or their own ideas, I don't want it anymore, right? So they're stuck and nothing becomes real for them. They're moody and cranky here. If they don't do what they want, pressure builds up. Right? And they're chameleons. They can shift and change and avoid, but they really are about facilitating change for others too, right? So there's that challenge and a gift in all these. And then they get bored easily. They need to change it up and keep it interesting. So they're scanning all the time for like the shiny thing so they can change it up when they need to, right? Any situation that's boring, boom, they bring in something new. And they're scared of committing, scared of being trapped. So it's somewhat limited by how deep they can go in things here. And they crave sensual pleasure. So addictions can be more common. But really they're about savoring pleasure and teaching others to savor pleasure. They love to be entrepreneurs. They love the freedom of working for themselves. They have all these new ideas for how to be entrepreneurs. They're playful, but it's a pokey kind of playful, where sages have the ha 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 playful. Artisans have more of the like, hee hee, didn't look at that. They're great creative problem solvers here. Here, other people give them questions. I need this beautiful room. What should I do? Or I have this problem I can't solve. What do I do? Or so they bring in, because they're always scanning the edges, they bring in the new ideas and the new experience, right, for other people's queries. And here in lesson 4, they come to know that they're always free. Freedom doesn't come from anywhere out here. I'm the one that sources my freedom, right? So they're always free, so they can commit. So of all the ideas they have, they're able to choose, this one's so pleasurable, and they're able to make these all the way into reality. So their own things they create in the world. Okay? So they all have these kinds of lessons. Server thinks, in the middle, they think that their gift is loving and caring for others. And they eventually realize it's to love and care for themselves so they can, in an unconditional way, care for others. And if they don't, if they overcare for others and get exhausted, they can actually become the most mean and hateful. Priest, priestess, they see what's possible, and they get, in the beginning, they're super attached to it and judgmental about that thing, and they focus on the gap that hasn't been reached yet. They grow to be more celebratory and encouraging, and celebrate progress, and they eventually just trust that the path we're on is perfect. There's no rush, and they're not attached to what they see. It could be some other thing that we're going towards. Sage starts off overplaying and convincing you to do things that are not in your best interest. And then it's the whole community dancing together. And they really just want the community to dance. They don't have any attachment to where anyone goes. And they get more quiet over time and connecting larger community together. Queen King starts off overpowering others and squashing them, but they kill all their followers. They can't build anything. They threaten to destroy. They build something bigger. They're bringing in better people. And they eventually learn to share power, right? Warriors start off squashing everyone and fighting, and they often have a harder childhood because they have something to push against, and that helps them get through. And then they do a ton, they multitask, but they take on too much. They get more strategic, and they finally let others play and help, and are now about coordinating the flow of others' work. Right, so warrior becomes a little more like Queen King as it grows. Scholar becomes more like the more intuitive priest, priestess as they grow. Artisan becomes more focused and practical a bit, even more like warrior, right? What would I say? Server maybe picks up some of the sage kind of flavor as they grow. It's so we grow into some of the flavors of the others, but we're really on our own journey of deepening in our own gifts. So I know there's a lot in there. So our opportunities for growing is to realize which are our masks. Where do we feel exhausted and tired, and let those go. And if I see photos of your parents, I can tell you what your likely masks are. Your parents or older siblings, and I'll tell you what I see, and then let's see if that correlates, with your own experience. Does that resonate with your experience? Do I describe your parents well? And then to grow into your third talent, your second talent, and your first talent, so that you're growing to ideally be this proportion. So it's sorting out which are your 3 talents and sorting in order and seeing where you feel the most joy and energy and where you make the biggest contribution, and letting yourself express more and more of that with the support of your second and the support of your third. Integrating them together in a cohesive expression and growing in your lessons, right? From the shadow into the light. So that's our growth journey. So, and this is the expression of who we are and our gifts. Just generally keeping in mind too, that those are the talents, and there are all these other traits in this dance also. And I use this for not only helping us better acknowledge ourselves, love ourselves, express the best of who we are, grow in our lessons. I also use this to help you make great choices in your life. So with soulmates, like I think that the people that have similar souls are your soulmates. Right? And I think that when we're with people that are similar, we can feel more connected to ourselves. The more we love them, the more we love us too. The more we love us, the more we love them. So we get really deeply connected with these people. And the myth we have of 2 people across the crowded room that see each other love at first sight, for me, they're usually not soulmates at all. And it's really hard to be with these people, even though we're most attracted to them. Just say, these are the lessons. These are the lessons of relationship and dating that we go through. We often are choosing people like our parents, like we're still attempting to get seen by our parents. And we often date people that are different than us. And I think that's because if we don't love who we are, we see the eyes of other people that are similar and we judge them harshly the same way we judge ourselves. And so the only people left are the people that are different. And the people across the crowded room that we see, they're usually like our parents and different than us. And I think it's really hard to be with them. And we often date those kinds of people over and over. Oh, I think that people that have similar souls are our soulmates. And if we know our purpose and we're expressing our purpose, it's great to be with someone with a similar purpose too. But often we're not there. And I see there are some questions. Yeah, so I know some people, we're going to go through volunteers. And what about someone who's different? I'm not sure what your question is, but dating people that are different, I think is really challenging unless we have a lot of consciousness and a lot of awareness of who we are and who they are. And we have the spaciousness to honor them. So like an artisan and a warrior dating might be a lot of trouble. An artisan and a priestess dating might be a lot of trouble. Someone that, the priestess wants to focus and the artisan wants to go in all these directions, right? And someone that has priestess and warrior is rather intense. So dating someone like that has like server and artisan who's very energetically sensitive and soft, like that would be really intense and challenging. But if this person grew up with someone like that, they might be drawn to it even though it's so hard. So yeah, I guess they're like warriors focused on work and sage wants to play, right? Scholar wants to ask questions and they're flat and neutral, and priestess is like, get emotional. What do you feel? So it's like those different combinations can be challenging. Some combinations are easier too. Let's say, and maybe just a little bit of just how I read people. So you've learned the categories of these 7 talents. So you know now a bit about the values and the behavior, and you might be able to recognize people based on what they do and how they behave. There are specific physical traits I look at. The eyes are the most important, but also the face and the body. And there's something about energy flow. So sages are in this dance, right? Artisans have attention in all these places. Priestess wants to align everything, pull it together and move it up. Scholars like a funnel pulling it in. Right, so being aware of these kinds of things, right, serves like a tunnel to someone's heart. So being aware of this, these are like different ways in to feel what different people are like and what they might have. What does your energy naturally do? What do you push yourself to do? What does it naturally do? And then I also encourage you to read people with your own map. You have experience with people of all these different types. And you might notice, for example, or like me, my dad had artisan, I don't have artisan, and I'm so drawn to artisans. I immediately see artisans and I was like, oh, like they're beautiful, I love them. And so in terms of getting to read people, I could learn to use that whenever I'm just so drawn to someone. I'm like, oh wait, do they have artisan? Right, so whatever your history is, you can use that to recognize people. And there are tricks for distinguishing masking. So like women are taught in our culture that we're supposed to be priestess, intense, tall, more emotional, like we're taught all these things. And priests have particularly intense eyes. So women often wear more intense eye makeup to make their eyes look more intense. Or men are taught they should be funny. So they often grow more facial hair to bring more emphasis on this part of their face, which is more common in sage. So there are all sorts of ways we're taught to look like the different types. So there are tricks for how to recognize that. And then one can always ask questions. So like I might say like, I would say, if you had to choose between learning something new or learning, no, now you say learning something new. Sorry, I said that wrong. If you had to choose between finally understanding something and getting to do whatever you want. So a scholar question or an artisan question, I can ask people that question and see what they say. When they answer, I'm not always, I don't only listen to their answer, I'm listening to their energy as they answer. And it's tricky to ask people questions because we might answer from our mask, we might not answer from what's true. So this is part of why I watch the energy of people, their body movements, all kinds of things like that. So these are just some of the tricks of the different ways of reading people. And to say we all read eyes all the time, right? The difference between seeing one's eyes and not seeing eyes. And what do I want to say? Well, these are just photos of famous people, which we're not going to go through right now, but these are all kinds of ways of reading people. And the reason why you'd want to know, right, is to live a life that you love, be authentic, live your purpose, date people that are great, right? That support you in your own journey and you're supporting them in their journey, right? Raise your kids to be more aware of who they are and more authentic. And just honoring people and diversity. And then in business, right, hire people that are great for your culture and great in the role that they're going to do, where they feel energized and they love it, right, where they can make bigger contributions, right? And it's a great way to honor everyone that you connect with in business. So these are some of the things that I use this work for. And yeah, through that. And just as part of my own journey, I was reading people in terms of assessments. I was a scientist, so my way in was to do it in a more scientific way. And I had a colleague that finally elbowed me and said, like, you know, you're doing this thing called claircognizance. You should figure this out. Along the way, and connecting with a little meetup group, you know, like Awkwardly Zen started as a little group and growing. And I went to a little meetup group and I was so scared because I'm a scientist. I'm like, what? Claircognizance? I don't understand. What? So I totally, like, I fit in and they needed a place to meet. And so they met at my house in my event space. And eventually someone said, like, let's run a group that a few of us share our work. And that was the first time I held a fair. I didn't know it was a fair. And I grow so that I have fairs all around the Northwest when we meet in person. And I now do online events and been doing those for 2.5 years now. So all kinds of different free events. Like later today, we have a panel on mediumship where people that practice mediumship answer questions from the audience. We had our first training panel last week, teaching others to step on stage and share their gifts in public. We started doing practice circles and all kinds of different things. So I've got about 700 practitioners that are connected in the community. And, yeah, so I'm going to do some samples here in a moment of just all the different kinds of work that I do. I have the book on the sweet spot, which is a deep dive into the 7 talents, not about how to read them in people, but about what they are and the lessons and how to grow through your lessons. It's $10 on Kindle. And if from connecting with me here today, if you want to do a session, you have access to my 40% off rates. It's $90 an hour. I also do complimentary sessions. I'll do short mini sessions and we'll look at this a little more deeply and do some samples, but we're going to do some samples right now. So this is how you get in touch with me. And I have classes teaching people how to read too. All right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I think we're on to some samples. But yeah, so questions, I'm happy to answer questions.
Okay, it looks like some people are super excited about it. Just clarifying that you can be friends with people who are not in your same.
Oh,
yes, there's someone asking about that.
So there's just huge diversity, right? We're all different. And sometimes we're particularly attracted to certain types because we think we might want more of that in our lives. So chances are it's a mask. So we can still totally enjoy that friend. And the opportunity is to shift so that the mask isn't here in ourselves. Like, so that we appreciate who we are as opposed to thinking we should be different. So there's a lesson opportunity there. And so I didn't speak to this, maybe let me. So in your life, like, let's just say you want to redecorate in your house, go talk to your friend who has artisan, because chances are they're going to be great at it, right? You have something that's challenging that's coming up and you want to feel really heard. You might go to your friend that has server. You want to grow and you want advice on how to grow. Go to someone that has priest priestess. So you might go to those people more often because you know that they're naturally great at that. But we could, but again, we went back to this. It's not only what we might be good at, it's also how we can do everything we do So you might have a friend that's great at something where it's not that obvious that they'd be great at it from their talent. They still might be great at it.
Thank you. That's why I love personality quizzes and personality different things, is because if you can figure out one that really works for you, you can fill in your life with the things you're not great at.
Right. Exactly. You know who to go to for things. So like, for example, the thing that you're doing that you really don't like doing around the house, chances are there's someone else that loves to do that and they don't want to do something that you're good at. Trade, right? Hire people, trade. It's part of
Yes.
community, right? Takes a community.
That.
Something else about that I was going to say, but all right.
All right. Well, we have had quite a few volunteers. If you came in late and you were wanting to volunteer, you can put your name in. I have the first group of people that's going to go. So are you ready, Lorelei?
I will. And I want to say part of what I do that's different than other personality assessments is that often with any assessment where we're answering questions, we're answering from our masks. And my aim is to cut through the masks and help us have a deeper insight than we can get in those other assessments. So that's my aim. And again, right, I'm human and I'm learning too, and try to be as accurate as I can be. Okay, yes, I'm ready.
Okay. So 1 second, Liz, if you have your hand up right now to be put onto the volunteer list, I will put you there. If you have a question, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask that question. Okay, so I think you want to be a volunteer. I'm going to lower your
volunteer, please.
You have a question? A volunteer.
No,
Okay,
a volunteer because I joined in late and I'm sorry about that. My
That's okay.
internet Wi-Fi dropped off. Sorry.
That's all right. No worries. So those of you who want to be a volunteer, please put it over in the chat. Okay, because if you raise your hand, I'm going to think you have a question. So Liz,
Okay.
I got you added to the list. Thank you.
I want to answer a couple questions briefly just before you. So Jocelyn said, anybody else literally feel electric energy with this or just me? The first time I heard about this, the first couple times I heard about it, it didn't connect with me. And then the third time I heard about it, my friend was talking about a trait where I evidently had the hugest mask. My whole body was vibrating. And that's really what finally got me connected with this. I learned this from a teacher that learned it from other teachers. And so, but yeah, so you're feeling a bunch of energy about it. Chances are it's tapping something in you that feels true. It might be very relevant in your life. You might be connecting to the, oh, this feels like so true for the people around me. So yeah. All right. And Issa's got her hand up now.
Yep.
Too.
And then Issa has a question.
Go ahead, Issa.
Hey, I heard you say that when dating, it can be a challenge if you date people dissimilar to you, like the artisan with the priestess. But I was wondering, what about how do if you're 3 of the types, how do those, when they have conflicting qualities, how does that integrate in the whole person?
Sure. So I think it's difficult to date people that are different, particularly if we don't know it. We don't realize that they're different. We don't have ways of honoring that we're different. So if you have some that don't go together as easily in you, you have a bit more of a journey of working through that. This is part of what's here in this life. And part of it is being compassionate to those parts of you that are pulling in different directions. If you can get it sorted where one talent is, higher up in the order than the other, it can help you lean towards giving that one more of a priority and making the choice, but being kind to yourself and finding ways to include all that. So it's finding ways to do it coherently in a way that really works for you, and then not having the fighting against of either or. Yeah.
I also wanted to share that I really thought the progression through life helped me narrow down which one was the strongest in terms of that. That was interesting. Thanks.
Great. And I'm going to share my screen again for 1 second. I know we got to get to these samples. Chances are if it's a mask, you're only in the outer lessons. You might work really hard and you just can't get into the deeper parts of the lessons, right? And so when I ask the question of which ones do you think you should be, usually those are masks. Although sometimes when you're on your way through, you can really feel there's more. I just know there's more. And so you may feel like you should be better at it because it's authentic too. So there's a difference between the should that you don't have it and the should you just feel a greater depth. All right, who's in line?
Okay, real quick, Liz, did you have a question? I saw that hand went up real quick, and then we need to get started on these.
Yes, it's regarding. Okay, I think I may be somewhere between either a warrior and a scholar, but I'm nowhere in terms of, let's say, what I do. And I'm just struggling to see where I fit in because I've got little things of all over the place again. And yeah, because right now I'm just really, really interested in knowing what's my purpose. I'm in my mid-40s and I'm like, this is going to pass me by. I'm just so eager to know.
It's great.
And
It's great.
thank
So
you
I'm
so
gonna,
much.
I'm going to answer in a way that answers it for everybody. So number one, I didn't say this. Artisans are the ones that want to be everything. So if you feel such a strong draw that you have to be everything and you don't want to be in any box at all, chances are you're an artisan. That's not your question, but that's related. And then can you all hear how she is so focused on questions and wanting to know the answer to the question? And she's not actually focused on practical applications about things. So even though I can't see her eyes, my bias is that she's more likely to have scholar. It was a very detailed question. So she's more likely to have scholar than warrior. So Liz, want to look and see if you had a parent with warrior. So without even seeing her eyes, right, just based on behavior and feeling the behavior, that's one way that I kind of get in there. And I say also, I focus on eyes. There are certain patterns that I focus on that I can teach people. I've gotten so good at it for seeing so many eyes. There's a way that it's very intuitive now. And I can also feel back into people's early life and what the lessons were like. And I don't understand all of what I do. So yeah, there's stuff.
How many of you who are practitioners can't understand everything you do? Can we just,
yeah, I'm just like, it's just
with that? Okay, awesome. All right, Laureli, I'm going to go ahead and stop recording now. So before I stop recording, would you mention your website one more time so that's in the recording?
Sure, yeah. So LaureliShimayo.com, LaureliShimayo.com. You can see links to all my other websites there, and that website has the calendar with all my events.
Perfect. Okay, I'm going to stop recording so that these are all going to be private.